When Marcus Chen challenged Elon Musk to play his grandfather's old violin on a busy Austin street corner, he thought it was just a funny joke. The crowd laughed. People pulled out their phones. It seemed like a fun moment that would be forgotten in 5 minutes. But then something shocking happened. Elon Musk walked toward Marcus with a strange look on his face. He stared at the violin for a long moment. Then he said words that made Marcus's heart drop. "I'll play it, but only if you promise me something first." Nobody expected what came next. When Elon took that violin in his hands and started to play, tears began streaming down his face. The whole crowd went silent. 200 people stood frozen, watching one of the richest men in the world cry while playing a street performer's violin. But why was Elon crying? What promise did he want from Marcus? And how did a simple joke on September 14th, 2024, end up changing both of their lives forever? This is the true story of a violin, a billionaire, and a secret Elon had kept hidden for 36 years. A secret about a friend he lost, a promise he broke, and the moment a street performer's bold joke reminded him what really matters in life. Stay with me until the end, because what Elon did after playing that violin will absolutely shock you. This isn't just a feel-good story. This is about how one moment of courage can change everything. Let me take you back to that warm September evening in Austin, Texas, where Marcus Chen was about to make the biggest gamble of his life. The September sun was setting over Austin, Texas, painting the sky orange and pink. Marcus Chen wiped sweat from his forehead and placed his violin under his chin once more. It was Saturday, September 14th, 2024, and South Congress Avenue was packed with people. Marcus had been standing on this same street corner for 3 hours. His legs ached, his fingers were sore, but he kept playing because he needed the money. Every dollar in his violin case meant another day of medicine for his mother. He played The Swan by Saint-Saëns, letting the bow glide smoothly across the strings. His grandfather's 1920s violin sang beautifully, even though the wood was old and scratched. Some people stopped to listen. Most walked right past. A few tossed dollars into his open case. "Beautiful playing, young man," an elderly woman said, dropping a $5 bill into his case. "Thank you, ma'am," Marcus replied with a tired smile. He was 28 years old, but tonight he felt 50. 3 years ago, he had been a star student at the University of Texas music program. His professors said he had real talent. They said he could play professionally in orchestras around the world. But then, his mother got sick. Cancer. The treatments cost so much money. Marcus had to make a choice: follow his dreams or take care of the person who raised him alone after his father left. It wasn't really a choice at all. He dropped out of school and started playing on the streets. His grandfather would have understood. Hiroshi Chen brought this very violin from Japan to America in 1952 with only $20 in his pocket. He built a whole life from nothing. He taught Marcus that family comes first, always. Marcus was thinking about his grandfather when he noticed something unusual. A crowd was forming near the taco restaurant across the street. People were taking photos and pointing. Someone famous must be visiting. Then Marcus saw him. Elon Musk. The real Elon Musk, wearing jeans and a black t-shirt, walking out of Torchy's Tacos with a takeout bag. Everyone in Austin knew that Elon had moved to their city in 2020. He lived here now. He built Teslas at the Gigafactory. But Marcus had never seen him in person. Elon was walking right toward Marcus's corner. Marcus's heart started pounding. He kept playing, but his hands were shaking slightly. Should he say something? Should he stay quiet? His grandfather always told him, "Be bold, Marcus. Fortune favors the brave." Before he could stop himself, Marcus called out, "Hey, Mr. Musk!" Elon stopped walking. He turned and looked at Marcus. So did about 50 other people. Marcus felt his face get hot, but he kept going. "You build rockets and cars, but can you play a violin?" The crowd laughed. Some people clapped. Someone shouted, "Yeah, Elon, show us!" Elon smiled, a small, curious smile. He walked closer to Marcus. Up close, he looked tired. His eyes had dark circles under them. He must have been working long hours at the factory. Marcus felt crazy energy rush through him. Maybe it was 3 hours of standing in the heat. Maybe it was 3 years of frustration. Maybe it was his grandfather's spirit pushing him to be brave. Whatever it was, Marcus did something wild. He held out his grandfather's precious violin toward Elon Musk. "I bet you can't play this better than me," Marcus said, loud enough for everyone to hear. The laughter stopped. The crowd went completely silent, and you could hear traffic from blocks away. Everyone stared at Marcus like he'd lost his mind. Someone whispered, "Did he just challenge Elon Musk?" Marcus immediately regretted it. This was his grandfather's violin, the only thing he had left from the man who raised him. What was he thinking? He started to pull the violin back, but Elon stepped forward. His expression was unreadable. Not angry, not amused, just thoughtful. He looked at the violin for a long moment, studying its scratched wood and worn strings. Then he looked directly into Marcus's eyes. "I'll play it," Elon said quietly, "but only if you promise me something first." Marcus's stomach dropped. What could Elon Musk possibly want from a broke street performer? His mind raced. Promise what? To never challenge billionaires again? To leave Austin? To give up the violin? The crowd pressed closer, cell phones up, recording everything. Marcus swallowed hard. His mouth was dry, but he heard his grandfather's voice in his head. "Be bold." "Okay," Marcus heard himself say. "I promise." He had no idea what he'd just agreed to. He had no idea this moment would change his entire life. All he knew was that Elon Musk was reaching for his grandfather's violin, and nothing would ever be the same again. Elon's fingers wrapped around the violin's neck with surprising gentleness. Marcus felt his heart squeeze as he watched the billionaire lift his grandfather's most precious possession. What had he done? "This is beautiful," Elon said softly, turning the violin in his hands. His voice was different now, quieter, almost reverent. "Someone loved this instrument very much." Marcus nodded, unable to speak, and his throat felt tight. "Tell me about it," Elon said, still examining the violin. He ran his thumb along a deep scratch near the bridge. "It was my grandfather's," Marcus managed to say. "Hiroshi Chen. He brought it from Japan in 1952. He was only 19 years old and came to America with nothing but this violin and $20. Elon looked up. "What happened to him?" "He died 2 years ago," Marcus said. The words still hurt. "He taught me everything about music. Every song I know, every technique. He showed me. This violin is all I have left of him." Something shifted in Elon's expression. His eyes grew distant, like he was seeing something far away. "My mother taught me violin," he said quietly. "In Pretoria, South Africa. I was 8 years old. That was 1979. The crowd murmured. Nobody knew Elon Musk played violin, and this wasn't in any interview or biography. Marcus stared. You play?" "I used to." Elon's voice was barely above a whisper. "A long time ago." By now, the crowd had grown massive. Marcus counted at least 200 people circling them. Traffic on South Congress had nearly stopped. Cars were honking, but nobody cared. Everyone's phone was out, recording. A teenage girl near the front was streaming live on her phone. "Oh my God! You guys, Elon Musk is about to play violin on South Congress. This is insane!" Someone else shouted, "Play something, Elon!" Elon didn't seem to hear them. He was lost in his own world, staring at the violin. His fingers found the strings, testing their tension. Then he picked up Marcus's bow from the violin case. Marcus held his breath. Elon positioned the violin properly. Left hand on the neck, right hand holding the bow. His posture was correct, trained. This wasn't someone who'd picked up a violin once or twice. This was someone who'd had real lessons. Then Elon closed his eyes and began to play. The first notes of Canon in D by Johann Pachelbel floated into the evening air. Marcus felt goosebumps rush across his skin. Elon wasn't perfect. His bowing was slightly rough, and he missed a note in the third measure. But there was something achingly beautiful about his playing. It was raw, honest, filled with emotion that Marcus could feel in his chest. The crowd was completely silent. Even the traffic seemed to quiet. 200 people stood frozen, watching one of the world's richest men play a street performer's grandfather's violin as the sun set over Austin. But then, Marcus noticed something that made his own eyes water. Tears were streaming down Elon Musk's face. Elon kept playing, eyes still closed, but tears ran down his cheeks and dripped off his chin. His face was twisted with pain, not physical pain, but something deeper, something that had been buried for years. Marcus looked around the crowd. Other people were crying too. An older man in a business suit was wiping his eyes. A young mother was holding her daughter close, tears on both their faces. Even tough-looking teenagers had stopped recording to just watch, their faces soft with emotion. This wasn't just a performance. This was something sacred. Elon played through the entire main section of Canon in D. When he reached the final notes, he held them long and pure. The last note hung in the air like a prayer. Then, silence. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The moment felt too precious to break. Finally, Elon opened his eyes. His face was wet with tears. He looked at Marcus and said, "Thank you." "For what?" Marcus whispered. "For reminding me why this matters." Elon's voice cracked. "I haven't played in 36 years. The crowd gasped. 36 years? A woman near the front called out, "Why did you stop?" Elon carefully lowered the violin. He looked at it for a long moment, then looked at Marcus. When he spoke, his voice was steady, but filled with deep sadness. "My mother insisted I learn music alongside computers and engineering. She said technology without art makes you forget what it means to be human." He paused. "She was right." "But why did you stop?" someone else asked. Elon's jaw tightened. Marcus could see him fighting with himself, deciding whether to share something personal. Finally, he spoke. "Ma, I stopped playing when I was 17 years old. I stopped for a reason I've never told anyone publicly." The crowd leaned in closer. Marcus forgot to breathe. "There was someone," Elon began, then stopped. He looked down at the violin again. "There was someone I lost. Someone who loved music the way I loved science. We used to play together." "Who was it?" a gentle voice asked from the crowd. Elon's eyes were distant, seeing something from decades ago. A friend. A young friend who needed music to survive in a cruel world. But music wasn't enough to save him. Marcus felt tears on his own face now. He didn't know the full story, but he understood loss. He understood grief. I stopped playing the day I learned he died, Elon continued. I couldn't bear to hold a violin after that. Every note reminded me of what I'd lost. Oh, so I put it down and never picked it up again. Until tonight. The crowd was utterly silent. Someone was crying softly. Elon looked directly at Marcus. May I play one more piece? It's for someone I lost, someone who deserved better than what this world gave him. Marcus nodded, unable to speak. But first, Elon said, his voice growing stronger, I need to tell you his story. I need to tell everyone his story, because that's what he deserves. That's what I owe him. Elon lifted the violin again, but he didn't play yet. Instead, he began to speak, and what he said next would change everything Marcus thought he knew about the man standing in front of him. His name was Joshua, Elon said, and I failed him. The crowd pressed closer, but nobody made a sound. Even the street noise seemed to fade away. Marcus stood frozen, holding his breath, waiting for Elon to continue. Elon's hands trembled slightly as he held the violin. Joshua was 14 years old when I knew him. I was 17. This was 1988, in Pretoria, South Africa. We lived in the same neighborhood, Waterkloof. Marcus had heard of Pretoria. It was the city where Elon grew up, before he moved to Canada and then America. Joshua wasn't like other kids, Elon continued. He was quiet, thoughtful. He loved physics and astronomy. He wanted to be a scientist someday. But more than anything, he loved music. He played piano beautifully, better than anyone I'd ever heard at that age. A woman in the crowd wiped her eyes. Somehow, everyone already knew this story wouldn't have a happy ending. We became friends because we were both different, Elon said. Oh, I was the weird kid who read science fiction and talked about going to space. He was the sensitive kid who played classical piano and wrote poetry. In 1988, South Africa, during apartheid, being different was dangerous. Being sensitive was seen as weakness. Elon's voice grew harder. Joshua was bullied, badly, every single day at school. They called him names. They pushed him in the hallways. They destroyed his sheet music. They told him he was worthless, that he'd never amount to anything, that the world would be better without him. Marcus felt sick. He'd been bullied a little bit in school, but nothing like what Elon was describing. I tried to protect him, Elon said. But I was being bullied too. I was small for my age back then, skinny, awkward. One time, a group of older boys threw me down a flight of stairs at school, and I was in the hospital for a week. His face darkened at the memory. So I couldn't really protect Joshua. I could barely protect myself. The crowd murmured sympathetically. This wasn't the Elon Musk they knew from news articles, the powerful CEO, the billionaire entrepreneur. This was a boy who'd suffered. But we had music, Elon said, and his expression softened. Every Tuesday and Thursday after school, Joshua and I would meet at his house. His parents both worked late, so we had the place to ourselves. He'd play piano, I'd play violin. We'd perform together. Vivaldi, Mozart, Beethoven. For those few hours, we weren't the weird kids everyone hated. We were musicians. We were artists. We were free. Marcus understood that feeling completely. When he played his grandfather's violin, nothing else mattered. Not the money problems, and not his mother's illness, not the fear, just the music. We had dreams, Elon continued. Big, impossible dreams. Joshua wanted to study music at a university in Europe, maybe Vienna or Paris. I wanted to go to America and build things that would change the world. We promised each other we'd leave South Africa together. We'd escape to places where being different was okay. where being smart and sensitive and creative wasn't a reason to get beaten up. Elon paused. His next words came out barely above a whisper. We made plans. We had it all figured out. I was leaving for Canada in August 1988 to live with relatives. Joshua was going to finish high school, then join me. 2 more years, and he'd be free. 2 more years, and the bullying would be over. Marcus's stomach twisted. He knew what was coming. But Joshua couldn't wait 2 more years, Elon said. His voice cracked. He couldn't survive 2 more years of being told he was worthless. 2 more years of being pushed and hit and humiliated every single day. Tears were flowing freely down Elon's face now. The crowd was crying with him. The last time I saw Joshua was June 11, 1988, Elon said. A Saturday. We played together at his house like always. He seemed quieter than usual, but I thought he was just tired. We performed Pachelbel's Canon in D, the piece I just played for you. Piano and violin together. It was beautiful. Elon's hands tightened on the violin. When we finished, Joshua made me promise something. He looked me right in the eyes and said, Elon, if you make it out of here, if you become successful like I know you will, so promise me you'll help kids who feel like we do. Promise me you'll use your music to connect with people, not just your brain. Promise me you'll remember that technology isn't everything. Art matters too. Feelings matter too. People matter too. Marcus felt tears streaming down his own face. Around him, people were openly sobbing. I promised him, Elon said. I swore I would. I had no idea why he was being so serious. I thought we'd have years to keep that promise together. Elon stopped talking. For a long moment, he just stood there, holding the violin, staring at nothing. Finally, a gentle voice from the crowd asked, What happened? 4 days later, on June 15, 1988, Joshua took his own life. Elon's words fell like stones. He hanged himself in his bedroom, and his parents found him when they came home from work. The crowd let out a collective gasp. Several people covered their mouths. Marcus felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. I didn't find out until 2 days after, Elon continued. Nobody told me because I'd already left for my aunt's house in Johannesburg. I was staying there for a few weeks before going to Canada. When I came back to Pretoria on June 18th to say goodbye to Joshua before leaving the country, his house was empty. Sold. His parents had moved away immediately. They couldn't bear to stay. Elon wiped his face with the back of his hand. I found out from a neighbor. Just like that. Oh, didn't you hear? Joshua died. Such a tragedy. That's all anyone said. Such a tragedy. Like it was a car accident or a disease. Like it wasn't something that could have been prevented if anyone had cared enough to help him. Marcus wanted to say something comforting, but no words felt right. What could anyone say to that kind of pain? I left for Canada 3 weeks later, Elon said. And I never picked up my violin again. I couldn't. Every time I looked at it, I saw Joshua's face. I heard his piano playing along with me. I remembered his smile when we performed together. And I remembered that I'd failed him. I'd left him alone when he needed a friend most. You didn't fail him, someone in the crowd called out. You were just a kid yourself. Elon shook his head. Maybe. But I broke my promise to him. He asked me to use music to connect with people, and I abandoned music entirely. He asked me to help kids who felt alone, and I spent 36 years building companies instead. I told myself I was changing the world with Tesla and SpaceX, but I forgot the most important kind of change, the human kind. He looked at Marcus with red, swollen eyes. When you challenged me tonight with your grandfather's violin, when you made that joke about whether I could play, do you know what I saw? Marcus shook his head. I saw Joshua, Elon said simply. He would have done exactly what you did. He would have challenged someone powerful just to see what happened. He had that kind of brave, stupid humor. And when I held your grandfather's violin, I felt the same thing I felt when I played with Joshua. This instrument has been loved. It's been played through grief and joy. It has a soul. Elon lifted the violin to his shoulder again. So I'm going to keep my promise now. I'm 36 years late, but I'm going to keep it. This next piece is for Joshua. For every kid who feels alone. For everyone who thinks the world would be better without them. This is to tell them they matter. Their music matters. Their life matters. Marcus couldn't see through his tears anymore. Neither could most of the crowd. Elon closed his eyes and began to play Meditation from Thais by Jules Massenet. It's a piece about spiritual awakening and redemption. It's about finding light in darkness. The music poured out of the violin like water, like light, like hope itself. Elon's technique was rusty, but his emotion was perfect. Every note carried 36 years of grief, regret, and love. Every phrase was a prayer for a friend who never got to grow up. Marcus watched as the crowd transformed. Strangers were hugging each other. So tough-looking men were crying into their hands. Young people were holding each other, swaying to the music. An elderly woman was on her knees, praying. This wasn't just a performance anymore. It was a healing. It was a memorial. It was Elon Musk finally letting go of guilt he'd carried since he was 17 years old. When the final note faded, nobody moved. The silence was sacred, profound. Then, slowly, the crowd began to applaud. But it wasn't excited applause. It was gentle, reverent, like applause in a church. People were thanking Elon for sharing something so painful and precious. Elon lowered the violin carefully. His face was exhausted but peaceful, like he'd finally set down a heavy weight he'd been carrying for decades. He handed the violin back to Marcus. "Thank you," he said. "Thank you for reminding me who I used to be, who I promised to be." Marcus took the violin with shaking hands. I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," Elon replied. "But remember at the beginning, when I said you had to promise me something?" Marcus had completely forgotten. "Yes," he said nervously. Elon pulled out his phone. "It's time I told you what that promise is." Marcus's heart pounded as Elon tapped on his phone. The crowd pressed closer, everyone wanting to hear what would happen next. The sun had fully set now, and the streetlights of South Congress Avenue glowed orange against the darkening sky. Elon made a quick call. "Sarah, I need you to bring the tablet. South Congress and Monroe." "Yes, now. Thank you." He hung up and looked at Marcus. "She'll be here in 5 minutes. She works at the Gigafactory, lives close by." "What's happening?" Marcus asked. His voice was shaky. "First, I want you to promise me that you'll never give up on music," Elon said. His eyes were still red from crying, but his voice was firm. "That violin connects you to your grandfather, the same way music could have connected Joshua to hope. Music saves people, Marcus. It saved me tonight. Promise me you won't abandon it." "I promise," Marcus said without hesitation. "Music is all I have." "That's not true," Elon said gently. "You have talent. You have dedication. I've been standing here listening to you play for the past 20 minutes before I even came over. You're genuinely good. Your grandfather taught you well." Marcus felt his face flush. Elon Musk had been listening to him play. "Thank you. But I had to drop out of the University of Texas music program 3 years ago. I can't afford to be a real musician anymore." "Why did you drop out?" Elon asked. Marcus hesitated. It felt strange sharing his problems with a billionaire. But after everything Elon had just shared about Joshua, it seemed wrong to hold back. "My mom got sick. Cancer. Stage 3. The treatments cost so much money that we lost our house. I had to choose between school and taking care of her. It wasn't really a choice." Elon nodded slowly. "You chose family. That's honorable. That's what Joshua would have done." He paused. "Is your mother still in treatment?" "Yes," Marcus said. "She's doing better, but the bills never stop. That's why I'm out here every day. Every dollar I make goes to her medicine and doctor visits." "And what about you?" Elon asked. "What do you want? If money wasn't a problem, what would you do?" Marcus looked down at his grandfather's violin. "I'd finish my degree. I'd become a professional musician. Maybe play in an orchestra, or teach, or both. And I'd make sure other kids who can't afford music lessons get a chance to learn. My grandfather taught me for free. I want to pass that gift forward." Something shifted in Elon's expression. That's exactly what Joshua would have said. He wanted to teach music to kids who couldn't afford it. He used to talk about opening a free music school someday. Elon's eyes got distant for a moment, then snapped back to focus. "That's perfect. That's absolutely perfect." "What do you mean?" Marcus asked. Before Elon could answer, a woman in Tesla employee clothing jogged up to them. She was breathing hard and holding a tablet. "Mr. Musk, here's what you asked for." "Thank you, Sarah." Elon took the tablet and dismissed her with a nod. He tapped on the screen a few times, then looked at Marcus. "You said you had to promise me something. Here's what I want you to promise." The crowd was so quiet, you could hear people breathing. 200 people waited to hear what Elon Musk would ask for. "I want you to promise that you'll go back to school and finish your music degree," Elon said. "I want you to promise that you'll become the musician your grandfather knew you could be. And I want you to promise that you'll teach music to underprivileged kids in Austin, for free, at least 4 hours per week, for the rest of your career." Marcus's mouth fell open. But I can't afford school. And my mom?" "I'm getting to that," Elon interrupted, and he turned the tablet around so Marcus could see the screen. It showed an official-looking document with the University of Texas logo at the top. "This is a full scholarship to return to UT's music program. Full tuition. 4 semesters to complete your degree. I just had my foundation approve it while we were talking." Marcus couldn't breathe. His vision blurred with tears. "What? How is that? That's not possible." "It's very possible when you have good lawyers and a foundation set up for exactly this kind of thing," Elon said with a slight smile. "But wait, there's more. Your mother's medical bills." He swiped to another screen. This one showed a bank transfer confirmation for $50,000 to Marcus Chen. Marcus's legs nearly gave out. $50,000. I can't. That's too much." "It's not nearly enough," Elon said firmly. "Cancer treatment in America is criminally expensive. But this should cover her bills for the next year at least, maybe longer if we're lucky. It gives you time to focus on school without worrying about her dying because you can't afford her medicine." Marcus was fully crying now. Big, gasping sobs. A stranger in the crowd, a middle-aged man in a cowboy hat, stepped forward and put a hand on Marcus's shoulder to steady him. "There's one more thing," Elon continued. He swiped to a third screen. Tesla is having a shareholder meeting in May 2025, 8 months from now. I want you to perform there. We'll fly you out, put you up in a hotel, pay you $5,000 for a 15-minute performance. You'll play for some of the wealthiest investors in the world. It'll be good exposure for your career. Marcus couldn't speak. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. This couldn't be real. Things like this didn't happen to street performers from broken families. Elon wasn't finished. And finally, your grandfather's violin. It's beautiful, but it needs restoration work. I have a contact, Maria Rodriguez. She's one of the best violin makers in America. Lives right here in Austin. She owes me a favor. I'll have her restore your grandfather's violin to perfect condition, completely free. It'll take about 2 months, so I'll also arrange for you to borrow a quality instrument while hers is being restored. The crowd erupted. People were cheering, crying, shouting with joy. Someone started chanting, "Elon! Elon! Elon!" But Elon held up his hand for quiet. "There's only one condition to all of this," Elon said, looking Marcus directly in the eyes. "You have to keep your promise. 4 hours per week teaching music to kids who can't afford lessons, every single week. No matter how successful you become, no matter how busy you get. Can you promise me that?" Marcus wiped his face with both hands. His whole body was shaking. "Yes. Yes, I promise. I swear on my grandfather's memory. I'll teach music to anyone who wants to learn. I'll pass forward everything my grandfather gave me." "Good," Elon said quietly, "because that's what Joshua would have wanted. That's what I should have been doing for the past 36 years, instead of just building companies." A woman in the crowd called out, "You have been helping people, Elon. Tesla, SpaceX, Starlink, you've changed the world." Elon shook his head. "Now, I've built technologies. That's important. But it's not the same as human connection. Joshua tried to teach me that, and I forgot. Marcus reminded me tonight." He looked at the young musician. "You challenged a billionaire with a joke, and it forced me to remember who I used to be, who I should be. That takes courage." Marcus finally found his voice. "Why me? Why are you doing all this for me? I'm nobody. I'm a college dropout playing violin on a street corner." Elon smiled, a genuine warm smile that made him look younger. "That's exactly why you—" Joshua was nobody too, according to the people who bullied him. But he mattered. Every person matters. Every dream matters. Your grandfather brought a violin from Japan with $20 in his pocket because he believed music mattered more than money. And he was right. Elon held out his hand. "Do we have a deal? Full scholarship, medical bills covered, shareholder meeting performance, violin restoration, and a lifetime commitment to teaching music to kids who need it?" Marcus looked at Elon's outstretched hand. 3 hours ago, he'd been a struggling street performer with no hope and no future. Now he was being offered everything he'd dreamed of for 3 long years. He thought about his grandfather Hiroshi, who taught him that boldness and kindness could change your life. He thought about Joshua, who Elon had lost 36 years ago. He thought about his mother, fighting cancer alone while he played violin on street corners to pay for her medicine. Marcus grabbed Elon's hand and shook it firmly. "Deal! I promise!" The crowd went absolutely wild. People were hugging, crying, jumping up and down. Someone's phone showed they were streaming to over 3 million people watching live. Cars were honking. Strangers were high-fiving each other. But in the middle of the chaos, someone shouted, "Play together! You should play together one more time!" The chant spread through the crowd like fire. "Play together! Play together! Play together!" Elon looked at Marcus. "What do you think? One more song?" Marcus nodded, unable to speak. He was still holding Elon's hand. Elon gently took the violin from Marcus's other hand. "You know, Amazing Grace." "Yes," Marcus whispered. "Good. I'll start. You sing. Your grandfather's violin deserves to sing one last song tonight before it goes to be restored." Elon lifted the violin and began to play the opening notes of Amazing Grace. His playing was rough, imperfect. The bow scratching slightly on the lower notes, but it didn't matter. When Marcus opened his mouth to sing, his voice came out strong and clear despite his tears. Amazing Grace. How sweet the sound. That saved a wretch like me. The crowd joined in. 200 voices singing together on South Congress Avenue. Rich and poor, young and old, different races, different backgrounds, all united by music and a moment of pure human connection. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. Elon played through the verses, tears streaming down his face again. But this time they weren't tears of grief. They were tears of release, of forgiveness, of finally keeping a promise made 36 years too late. When the final note faded into the Texas night, the crowd stood in reverent silence for a moment. Then applause thundered through the street. Not the polite applause from before, but wild, joyful, grateful applause. The kind of applause that says, "Thank you for letting us witness something sacred." Elon carefully handed the violin back to Marcus one final time. "Take care of this instrument. It saved my life tonight. It might save someone else's tomorrow." Marcus clutched the violin to his chest. "Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't know how to—" "Don't thank me," Elon interrupted gently. "Thank your grandfather for teaching you to be bold. Thank Joshua for making me promise to help people like you. And thank yourself for having the courage to challenge a billionaire with a stupid joke." He smiled. "That stupid joke just changed both our lives." Elon pulled a business card from his wallet and handed it to Marcus. "You're my assistant's direct number. Call her Monday morning. She'll have all the paperwork ready for your scholarship, the money transfer, everything. Maria, the violin maker, will contact you within 48 hours about the restoration." "Okay," Marcus said, staring at the card like it might disappear. "Okay. Monday. I'll call." "Good." Elon looked at the massive crowd still surrounding them. "I should go. I have an early meeting at the Gigafactory tomorrow. But Marcus, remember your promise. 4 hours per week, every week. Pass forward what you've been given." "I will. I swear it." Elon nodded once, then turned and walked toward his car. The crowd parted for him like the Red Sea. Several people tried to talk to him, but he politely waved them off. He looked exhausted, but peaceful. Just before he got into his Tesla, Elon turned back one more time. He caught Marcus's eye across the distance and mouthed 2 words, "Thank you." Then he was gone. Marcus stood alone on his street corner, surrounded by hundreds of strangers, holding his grandfather's violin and Elon Musk's business card. His violin case was overflowing with money. People had been throwing in bills during the performance. He counted later and found $2,300, more than he usually made in a month. But that wasn't what mattered. What mattered was the promise. What mattered was the chance to honor his grandfather and a boy named Joshua, who died 36 years ago. What mattered was that music, just a stupid joke and a violin, had changed everything. A reporter from the Austin Chronicle pushed through the crowd. "Marcus, can I get a quote?" What are you feeling right now?" Marcus looked down at his grandfather's violin. He thought about Hiroshi Chen arriving in America in 1952 with nothing but this instrument and a dream. He thought about Joshua, playing piano in Pretoria, making Elon promise to help people with music. He thought about his mother, fighting cancer, who would now have a chance to actually beat it. "I'm feeling like my grandfather was right," Marcus said quietly. "He always told me to be bold. He said fortune favors the brave. He said music connects souls across time and space. Tonight, I learned he was absolutely right about everything." The reporter scribbled notes. "What will you do now?" Marcus smiled. The first real smile he'd smiled in 3 years. "I'm going to keep my promise. I'm going back to school. And I'm going to teach music to every kid in Austin who wants to learn. For free. Forever. Because that's what my grandfather would have wanted. That's what Joshua deserved. And that's what music is for. Connecting people, healing people, saving people." The reporter smiled back. "That's beautiful. Can I take your photo?" "Only if you include the violin," Marcus said, holding up his grandfather's instrument. "This is the real hero of the story. This is what connected me to Elon Musk, to my grandfather, to everyone here tonight. This violin has been saving lives since 1952, and it's going to keep saving lives for the next 100 years." The flash went off, capturing Marcus Chen holding his grandfather's violin on the same street corner where, just 2 hours earlier, he'd been a struggling performer with no hope. And now he had everything: school, money for his mother, a career opportunity, and most importantly, a purpose. As the crowd finally began to disperse, people kept coming up to Marcus to thank him, to hug him, to tell him their own stories of loss and hope and music. He listened to every single one, because that's what his grandfather would have done. That's what Joshua would have wanted. By the time South Congress Avenue returned to normal, it was nearly midnight. Marcus packed up his violin carefully, picked up his case full of money, and started the long walk home to tell his mother that everything was going to be okay. Above him, the Texas stars shone bright and clear. Somewhere up there, Marcus hoped his grandfather was smiling. Somewhere in the universe, maybe Joshua was too. And in that moment, now Marcus Chen understood what Elon had meant. Music wasn't just notes and rhythm. Music was connection. Music was healing. Music was the promise that even in the darkest times, beauty could still exist. Hope could still survive. His grandfather's violin had just proven that truth one more time. And tomorrow, Marcus would start keeping his promise to pass that truth forward to every child who needed to hear it. It was March 15th, 2025, a warm Sunday afternoon in Austin. Marcus Chen stood in front of 23 children in a bright community center on the east side of the city. The walls were painted cheerful yellow and covered with colorful drawings. Through the windows, he could see families playing in the park outside. "Okay, everyone," Marcus said with a smile. "Let's try that section one more time. Remember, keep your bow straight. Diane, don't rush the notes." 23 young violins rose to 23 small chins. The students ranged from 6 years old to 15. Some were beginners who'd started just 2 months ago. Others had been with Marcus since November, when he'd first opened his free music program. They played a simple arrangement of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. It wasn't perfect. Several kids were off-key, and one boy in the back row kept missing his timing. But it was beautiful anyway. It was 23 kids who couldn't afford music lessons learning that they mattered, that they had talent, that music could be theirs too. When they finished, Marcus applauded. "Excellent work! You're all improving so much. I'm proud of every single one of you." A little girl named Sophia raised her hand. She was 7 years old, now with big brown eyes, and her hair in 2 ponytails. Mr. Chen, is it true you met Elon Musk? Marcus smiled. He got this question at least once per class. Yes, Sophia, I met him. Did he really play your grandpa's violin? Asked another student, a 12-year-old boy named Deshawn. He did, Marcus confirmed. And that's why we're all here today. Mr. Musk reminded me that music is meant to be shared. My grandfather shared it with me, and now I'm sharing it with all of you. Can we see the video? Sophia asked eagerly. Marcus laughed. The video of that September night had been viewed over 100 million times on various social media platforms. It had been featured on every major news network. People magazine had written a story about it. So the Austin Chronicle had put Marcus on their cover with the headline, "The Violin That Stopped a Billionaire." Maybe at the end of class, Marcus said, but first, let's practice our scales. After class ended and all the students had been picked up by their parents, Marcus sat alone in the community center. His mother, Rebecca Chen, walked in carrying 2 cups of coffee. She looked healthy, healthier than she'd looked in 3 years. Her hair had grown back after the final round of chemotherapy. The doctors said her cancer was in complete remission. "You're wonderful with those kids," she said, handing Marcus a coffee. "I learned from the best," Marcus replied, thinking of his grandfather. Rebecca sat down beside her son. "Your grandfather would be so proud of you. Finishing your degree, teaching these children, are performing at important events. This is everything he dreamed for you." Marcus looked down at his hands. They were the same hands that had held out a violin to Elon Musk 6 months ago. The same hands that had shaken with fear and hope. "I was so scared that night, Mom. When I challenged Elon, I thought I'd made the biggest mistake of my life." "But you were brave," Rebecca said, "just like your grandfather taught you." "I miss him," Marcus whispered. "I know, baby. I miss him too." Rebecca squeezed her son's hand. "But he's with you every time you play, every time you teach, every time you pass forward what he gave you." Marcus's phone buzzed. It was a text from Sarah, Elon's assistant. "Reminder, shareholder meeting performance in 8 weeks. May 10th. Flight and hotel details attached. Mr. Musk is looking forward to hearing you play." 8 weeks. 2 months from now, Marcus would perform for hundreds of Tesla's wealthiest investors. It was terrifying and exciting all at once. His grandfather's violin had been returned from Maria Rodriguez 2 weeks ago. The restoration was stunning. The old scratches had been carefully preserved as part of the instrument's history, but the sound was now perfect, clear and pure. Maria said the violin was probably worth $15,000 now, maybe more. But Marcus would never sell it, not for any amount of money. This violin had saved his life, saved his mother's life, and connected him to Elon Musk and a boy named Joshua who died in 1988. "Are you nervous about the Tesla performance?" Rebecca asked, reading her son's mind the way mothers do. "Terrified," Marcus admitted. "But I keep thinking about what Elon said. Music is about connection, not perfection. I just need to play from my heart and remember why I'm there." "Why are you there?" his mother asked gently. Marcus thought for a moment. "To keep a promise, to honor grandfather, to honor Joshua, to show those rich investors that art matters as much as technology, that we need both to be fully human." Rebecca smiled. "That's exactly right." Marcus's phone buzzed again. This time it was an email from the University of Texas Music Department. He opened it, and his eyes went wide. "What is it?" Rebecca asked. "They want me to be the student speaker at graduation in May," Marcus said in disbelief. "They want me to give a speech to the entire graduating class." "Oh, Marcus!" Rebecca hugged her son tightly. That's wonderful. What will you talk about? Marcus didn't even have to think about it. I'll talk about boldness, about taking chances, about how one stupid joke on a street corner can change your entire life, about how music connects us all. Over the next 2 months, Marcus threw himself into preparation. He practiced every day for the Tesla performance. He wrote and rewrote his graduation speech. He continued teaching his 23 students every Sunday, never missing a single class despite his busy schedule. He also did something else. He started a foundation called the Joshua Project, named after the friend Elon had lost in 1988. The foundation's mission was to provide free music education and mental health support to bullied children. Marcus had contributed $5,000 of his own money to start it. To his shock, within 2 weeks, anonymous donors had contributed over $200,000. He suspected he knew who at least one of those anonymous donors was. On May 10, 2025, Marcus flew to Palo Alto, California, for the Tesla shareholder meeting. He was so nervous, he could barely eat breakfast. He wore a new suit that his mother had bought him, the first suit he'd ever owned. His grandfather's violin was in a protective case, carefully stored in the overhead bin. The shareholder meeting was held in a massive auditorium. Marcus stood backstage, peeking through the curtain at hundreds of wealthy investors in expensive suits. His hands were sweating. Then Elon Musk walked backstage. He looked just like he had that September night, tired but focused. When he saw Marcus, his face broke into a genuine smile. "Marcus, you made it." Elon shook his hand warmly. "How are you? How's your mother?" "She's great," Marcus said. "In remission. The doctors are amazed at her progress." "That's wonderful news." Elon looked at the violin case. "Is that the instrument?" "Yes. Maria did an incredible job with the restoration." "She's the best." Elon paused, then said quietly, "Thank you for what you're doing. The Joshua Project, the free music classes. You've kept every promise." "You made it possible," Marcus replied. "I'm just passing forward what you gave me." Elon shook his head. "No. You made it possible by being brave enough to challenge me. You reminded me what matters. I should be thanking you." A stage manager called out, "Mr. Chen, you're on in 5 minutes." Marcus felt his stomach flip. "I don't know if I can do this." Elon put a hand on Marcus's shoulder. "Yes, you can. You're not playing for investors. You're playing for Joshua. You're playing for your grandfather. You're playing for every kid in your Sunday class who needs to know that music can save them. Just close your eyes and remember why you play." Marcus nodded, unable to speak. "And Marcus," Elon added, "I'll be watching from the front row. You're not alone out there." 5 minutes later, Marcus walked onto the stage. The auditorium was packed, at least 800 people. Spotlights blinded him momentarily. His hands shook as he lifted his grandfather's violin. Then he saw Elon in the front row, looking up at him with encouraging eyes. And Marcus remembered September 14th, 2024. He remembered challenging a billionaire with a joke. He remembered Elon crying as he played Canon in D. He remembered the promise. Marcus closed his eyes and began to play. He performed 3 pieces: Canon in D by Pachelbel for Elon and Joshua, The Swan by Saint-Saëns for his grandfather, and Amazing Grace for everyone who'd ever felt lost and then found their way home. When he finished, the auditorium was silent for a heartbeat. Then every single person rose to their feet in a standing ovation. 800 wealthy investors applauding a street performer who'd become so much more. After the performance, at least 50 people approached Marcus, asking about the Joshua Project. By the end of the day, the foundation had received over $5 million in donations, enough to expand free music programs to 10 cities across America. 2 weeks later, on May 24, 2025, Marcus stood at the podium at his University of Texas graduation. He wore his cap and gown. His mother sat in the third row, crying happy tears. His 23 music students sat scattered throughout the audience. Their parents had brought them to watch their teacher graduate. Marcus looked out at thousands of faces and began his speech. 6 months ago, I was a college dropout, playing violin on a street corner to pay for my mother's cancer treatment. I had no hope, no future. I thought my dreams were dead. Then I did something stupid. I challenged Elon Musk to play my grandfather's violin. It was a joke, a bold, ridiculous joke. But that joke changed my life. Not because Elon gave me money, though he did, and I'm grateful. Not because he gave me opportunities, though he did, and I've tried to honor them. My life changed because that joke reminded both of us what really matters. We live in a world that values technology and money and success. Those things are important, but they're not everything. Art matters. Music matters. Human connection matters. Keeping promises matters. My grandfather, Hiroshi Chen, brought his violin from Japan to America in 1952 with $20 in his pocket. People told him he was crazy. Music couldn't pay the bills. Music couldn't change the world. But he taught me that music changes the world in ways that money never can. Music connects souls. Music heals wounds. Music reminds us we're all human. There was a boy named Joshua who died in 1988 because he felt alone and worthless. He loved music, but music alone wasn't enough to save him from the cruelty of bullies. Elon Musk promised Joshua that if he ever became successful, he'd help kids like him. But Elon spent 36 years building companies instead of keeping that promise. Until a street performer challenged him with a joke. Until a violin made him remember. Until music reminded him what he'd forgotten. So here's what I want to tell you. Class of 2025. Be bold. Take chances. Don't be afraid to challenge powerful people with stupid jokes. You never know what might happen. But more importantly, keep your promises. Pass forward what you've been given. If someone taught you something valuable, teach someone else. If someone helped you when you were down, help someone else when they're struggling. If someone gave you hope, give hope to others. Music saved my life. My grandfather's love saved my life. Elon Musk's generosity saved my life. And now it's my turn to save someone else's life. That's why I teach free music classes every Sunday. That's why I started the Joshua Project. That's why I'll spend the rest of my career making sure that kids who feel alone and worthless know that they matter. Because they do matter. Every single one of you matters. Your dreams matter. Your art matters. Your kindness matters. Your promises matter. So go out into the world and be bold. Be kind. Be generous. Keep your promises. And remember that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is challenge someone with a joke and a violin. The audience erupted in applause. Marcus saw his mother standing, clapping with tears streaming down her face. He saw his 23 students cheering wildly. And there, in the back row, he saw someone he didn't expect. Elon Musk, standing and applauding with everyone else. After the ceremony, Elon found Marcus in the crowd. "Beautiful speech," he said simply. "You came," Marcus said in wonder. "I didn't think. I wouldn't have missed it," Elon interrupted. "You kept your promise. Every single part of it. I wanted to witness that." They stood there for a moment, two people connected by a violin, a joke, and a boy named Joshua, who'd died 36 years ago. "I have something for you," Elon said. He handed Marcus an envelope. Marcus opened it. Inside was a check for $1 million made out to the Joshua Project. "Elon, I can't—" "Yes, you can," Elon said firmly. "Use it to expand your programs, teach more kids, keep more promises, make sure Joshua's death meant something." Marcus clutched the check with shaking hands. "Thank you. Thank you so much." "No," Elon said quietly. "Thank you for reminding me who I'm supposed to be, for challenging me on a street corner, for being bold when you had every reason to play it safe." He shook Marcus's hand one final time, then disappeared into the crowd. Marcus stood there, holding the check, surrounded by celebrating graduates. His mother came up and hugged him tightly. His students mobbed him with excitement. Reporters asked for interviews. Everyone wanted to know his story. But Marcus just held his grandfather's violin case and thought about promises kept, and lives changed, and music that connected souls across time and death and loss. That night, Marcus returned to his old street corner on South Congress Avenue. It was late, almost midnight. The street was quiet now, just a few cars passing by. He opened his violin case and began to play. He played for his grandfather Hiroshi, who'd taught him to be bold. He played for Joshua, who'd died believing he was worthless. He played for Elon, who'd spent 36 years running from grief. He played for his mother, who was alive and healing. He played for his 23 students, who would now have music forever. And he played for himself, for the scared street performer who'd made a joke 6 months ago and accidentally changed the world. As the notes of Amazing Grace floated into the Texas night, Marcus Chen smiled. His grandfather had been right about everything. Fortune did favor the brave. Music did connect souls. Promises did matter. And sometimes, all it took to change your life was a violin, a joke, and the courage to challenge someone powerful on a warm September evening. The music played on, carrying hope and healing into the night, just as it always had and always would. For that is what music does. It saves people. It connects people. It reminds people that they matter. Marcus Chen had learned that lesson 6 months ago, and he would spend the rest of his life teaching it to everyone who would listen. So that's the incredible true story of how a simple joke and a grandfather's violin changed 2 lives forever. Marcus kept his promise, and Elon finally honored the memory of his friend Joshua after 36 years. Now I want to hear from you. Where are you watching this from? Drop your city and country in the comments below. I love hearing from viewers all around the world. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button. It helps spread this message of kindness and courage to more people who need to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel, because we share inspiring true stories like this one every single week. Remember, sometimes all it takes is one bold moment to change everything. Be brave, keep your promises, and never underestimate the power of kindness. There's another amazing story waiting for you on the screen right now. Click on it, and let's keep this journey of inspiration going together. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.